Hey everyone, Pastor George here with today's Bible study recap. And today in Bible study, we looked at the parable of the talents, which comes from Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. And one of the things that I want to note about this one is we're continuing to go through our weeping and gnashing of teeth. The other ones that we've looked at, including the one next week, mostly have to do with the way that the church functions in the covenant. And what I mean by that is the covenant people. Because the people that Jesus was preaching to were Jews, and a lot of these stories have to say, well, actually, the people that thought themselves faithful followers of God thought that they were made that way by their ethnicity, but actually, in accordance to what Jesus is teaching, it comes by faith. And so a lot of the weeping and grief and gnashing of teeth that happens in these images happen to people who once thought they were inside but are actually outside. And that's not what the parables is about. Like, as you can see in it, right, that there's in the parable itself is a master and three slaves. And those, in this scenario, with the picture that Jesus is pointing, right, he's the master, or God's, God, the triune God's the master, and we're the slaves. And in this imagery that we have here, right, the weeping and gnashing of teeth takes on something different. Again, it's this idea of people who thought they were in but are actually out. But now it's not about a replacement as much as it is about understanding what God requires of us daily, right? And how much of our lives we devote to his service. So the story is a master is there, and he leaves money with his slaves as he goes on a journey. He gives 5 to 1, 2 to 1, and 1 to 1 according to their ability. So the slaves, by what he's noticed about their talents, he gives them accordingly. And so he leaves, and while he's gone, the first two, the ones who he's given more of the talents to, make 100% return on what they've invested, right? So the one who had 5 gets 5, the one who had 2 gets 2. The last guy just takes it and buries it in the ground, which is the safest way. That would be like putting your money in a vault or putting your money in a safe. That's kind of what our equivalent today would be. It's a safe way of taking care of it, but he doesn't try and do anything more with it. And so those two are rewarded when the master returns, because he returns, right? He doesn't say, this is the day I'm going to be back. He just says, I'm going to come back. He comes back and he rewards the two who have used their money to make more, and the last one he takes and throws into outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. And before he does this, he asks this slave why he hasn't done it. And the slave says he doesn't do it because he's scared, right? He's scared that the master will reprove him or get angry at him if he comes back, basically, and finds out that it's gone. And so the master basically gets mad because the slave never shared. Like, if we want to take this and apply it, right? He never talked about the good news. He never shared who Jesus was. He never used his talents to grow the kingdom of God, and then is found wanting when Jesus returns. Okay, that's the thing. It has to do with the second coming, right? That's why at the beginning it says, for it will be like, what Jesus is talking about there is the second coming, because he's just talked about that with the parable of 10 virgins. He's talked about that before with the Olivet discourse, and then you're going to see right after this there's a whole section where he talks about the final judgment. And so as Christians, what this story calls to us to remind ourselves is that when we are called as Christians, we are to use our abilities and our talents for God's glory in whatever ways that we can, and help people to reach an understanding of who Jesus is. That's the equivalent here is not money, right? It's not our job to be like, oh, God has given us $50,000, we need to make 100,000. That's not what Jesus is talking about here. He's talking about growth of the kingdom, because the wicked servant ultimately put his own desires and his own needs ahead of the master's, and that's not where we want to be. If we end up doing that, right, we're going to think we're on the inside, but at the end times, we're going to find out that we're on the outside. So it's with that I encourage all of you to continue working for Christ, and I will see you all tomorrow for an episode of A New Thing. We got a mailbag question, so that's exciting. I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Peace out.